Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat and this is Catadactyl. So today I'm really excited because I'm doing a tag that one of my favorite YouTubers, Gabby at Gabby Reads, put together. So this is the Ryan Gosling book tag, as I'm sure you know from reading the video description. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into this tag video. So the first question is, Emma and Ryan choose a book that they would star as leads together if they were a book couple. Actually, ever since I watched Gabby's video and she said The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, I'm also going to go with The Hating Game by Sally Thorne because it stars kind of a quirky and romantic and kind of retro vibe girl who just wears a lot of like knits and interesting retro outfits, and I just think Emma would look so beautiful like in that kind of style. And the male lead is very buttoned up, and there's nothing I would love more than to see Ryan Gosling all buttoned up. Like, he can act as any sort of leading man, so I'm sure that that would be such an amazing movie if that book was made into a movie. So I hope that happens. Oh yeah, I don't think I mentioned, but every single question is actually based on a movie that Ryan Gosling starred in. So number 2 is The Nice Guys Choose the Funniest Book You've Ever Read, and this one for me is really easy. It is Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson, and you might not think that a book about mental disorders and struggling in your day-to-day life would necessarily be funny, but Jenny Lawson is hilarious, and she has some obsessions with like taxidermied animals that is so funny and bizarre and weird, and like her dynamics with her husband, so loving but also so freaking funny. Like, just some of the things in that book, I remember when I read it, I remember where I was when I read it because I was like laughing out loud very loudly, and I was getting such weird looks. So yeah, that one for sure. If you're interested in mental illness or comedy writing, then I really recommend it. Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. It is so good, and the cover is just so funny, and so if you read the book you'll know what that animal is. Yeah, so it's so good and I so highly recommend it. So number 3 is The Notebook, and first off I'm just gonna pause here. I love The Notebook. I don't care if people are like, it's like trash or like it's so like whatever. I love The Notebook and I watch it probably once a year. I just love it. I love it so much. Anyway, so the question based off of The Notebook is obviously, what's your favorite romance you've ever read? And I gave a lot of thought to this because I do tend to read a lot of romances, but I think the one that sticks to me the most is the Captive Prince trilogy by C.S. Pacat. And the book deals with a prince who is captured and sent away against his will as a slave to a neighboring kingdom that hates his own kingdom. So it's very much like he is behind enemy lines and in a lot of danger, and there's a lot of political maneuvering and war tactics that are also in this book, which I think is why I just I love the characters so much, because they're developed beyond just their relationship with each other. They have whole like story plot lines that have nothing to do with each other that are just so strong, and I love that series so much. C.S. Pacat is a goddess of sexual tension, so if you haven't read this series, I really recommend it. It is just amazing. Number 4 is La La Land. Pick a book that you think would make a great musical, and for this one I'm actually going to be super lame and say I don't like musicals. I really don't. So number 5 is Blade Runner 2049. Pick your favorite sci-fi book, and actually the original Blade Runner is my favorite movie of all time. I really love Blade Runner so much. So when the new movie came out, I was really excited. I think it is visually stunning. I like so many elements of it. There were also problematic elements, I thought, but I really love Blade Runner. So you would think that I would tell you Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick is my favorite sci-fi novel. It's definitely in there, but actually when I was thinking about my favorite one, I would have to go with The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. It is a series of short stories that follows settlers as they make their way to Mars, and different things happen to each wave of new astronauts and new settlers, and I just remember when I read it, so many of the stories like were so ingenious and had a lot of elements that I just thought were so brilliant and beautiful, and I'm a huge fan of Ray Bradbury's writing style. Fahrenheit 451 is, again, one of my favorite like dystopians, and just generally I have a hard on for Ray Bradbury, so I'm gonna go with the Martian Chronicles. It's great, and if you're looking for sci-fi that isn't too intense and also comes in shorter like bite-sized pieces, it is so good, and I highly recommend it. Okay, and number 6 is Drive. Pick a favorite badass main character. So actually the movie Drive, the soundtrack is just, oh my god, so good. I love the soundtrack so much. And also it's visually stunning. But the favorite badass main character, so I don't want to choose Laurent from Captive Prince again because I already mentioned Captive Prince. So I'm going to choose another one, and I'm going to choose Baru Cormorant from Seth Dickinson's The Traitor Baru Cormorant. So we follow Traitor Baru Cormorant. Her country is taken over by the Empire of Masks, and they do so by wielding economic power, and that is how they take down their country. And so she vows to rise within the ranks of the Empire of Masks and destroy it from within. And I read the first book, and I was blown away. It's my favorite book that has lesbian elements in it. It's also my favorite political machinations book after Captive Prince, and the second one comes out in October. Yes, I'm so ready. Thank you, Seth Dickinson. Thank you, finally. But the main character is so badass, and she uses a lot of ways of taking down other people that aren't necessarily explored often, such as, you know, not being quick to rise to anger and being really well thought out and methodical and being really clear about what your intentions and your goals are and not letting things stand in your way. And I just, the first book, like the ending, just like, ooh, oh my god, yeah, so, oh, she's such a badass. I can't wait to read the next one, and I really do recommend it. It is a bit longer, but it is so worth it. So number 7 is Blue Valentine. Choose the saddest romance or love story novel that you have read. So obviously Forbidden is right up there. I'm not gonna go into this again because I've mentioned it in like my top 10 of the year videos and like recent everything. I love this book. Anyway, so the one that I'm going to mention instead is Teeth by Hannah Moskowitz. Rudy's family has a problem. His younger sibling is very ill, and they hear that there's this island where the fish around the island are magical and can cure people's illnesses. So the whole family picks up and moves to this island, and Rudy then encounters someone that may or may not be a merman who he names Teeth. This novel, it just came out of nowhere. It was so good, and it is so effing sad. Wow. So if you're looking for queer elements that involve mer people, it's kind of magical realism, and it will just crush your heart into like a billion pieces, highly recommend. I love this book. It is so good. So number 8 is A Place Beyond the Pines. Pick a beautifully written father-son novel. And actually, I don't really have that many father-son novels. Instead, I'm just gonna go with Frankenstein because that's just how that's gonna go. So Frankenstein isn't really the father, and the monster isn't really the son, but like kind of, if you know the story at all. Frankenstein is one of my favorite books of all time, if not my favorite book of all time, and yeah, so I'm gonna go with that one. I know it's kind of like cheating, but I don't really have that many other father-son books on my shelves. So I'm gonna go with that, and you can find me, but yeah, moving on. Okay, so number 9 is Lars and the Real Girl, which is an absolutely adorable, very quirky, kind of weird movie about a man named Lars who falls in love with a sex doll, and the whole town kind of goes out of their way to make them feel like a real couple. So like, it's not for everyone, but I've just found it really endearing. It kind of had the same feel for me as Her. Yeah, anyway. The question for Lars and the Real Girl is a main character that's delusional. So for this one, I'm gonna throw up again one of my recent favorites, and it's Sick Fucks by Tillie Cole. I keep talking about it. It's an Alice in Wonderland retelling so the main characters are Ellis and Heathen. They were childhood best friends, and they fell in love with each other. Something happens, they're separated. When Heathen goes back for Ellis later on in life, she has been so traumatized that she has repressed herself into a mental state of Alice in Wonderland. So in order to get her out of that state, he then has to reenact Alice in Wonderland while also taking glorious bloody revenge and retribution on all the people who hurt her, who she sees as like the Dum Dum Twins and the Caterpillar and the Cheshire Cat. So definitely counts for this. She's delusional, insane, and then they're working through things. It's a very dark novel. It's a very dark romance, also super bloody, gory, everything. So trigger warnings definitely. So if that's not your thing, don't go for it, but recommend. Highly recommend. And number 10 is First Man, your favorite nonfiction book. And for this one, I have two. So Eating Animals by Safran, Foer, and this is about the way we produce meat in America. It is the book that turned me vegetarian, so important to myself. And the other one is Quantum and the Lotus by Matthieu, Ricard, and Trinh, Xuân. Sorry, I completely butchered that name. But this is essentially a dialogue between a Buddhist monk and an astrophysicist. And it's the way in which Buddhism overlaps with theoretical elements of the cosmos and also cells. So on the very small and the very large scale, the universe actually behaves in ways that are similar to the way in which Buddhist tenets are written. So I found this novel fascinating, and like so many parts are underlined. I've written college papers on it, and I really recommend it. So it's blurbed as a journey to the frontiers where science and Buddhism meet, and it's all banged up and it's all marked inside, and I really recommend it for people who like Buddhism or astrophysics. So yeah, recommend. So that finishes up the Ryan Gosling book tag. Great thanks go to Gabby. I love her channel. She's always just like so sweet and generally reads a ton of romance, which like I love, obviously. So I will leave the links to her channel down below. If you liked this tag, please feel free to do it, and leave some comments down below. Say hi. And if you like this, please give me a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. That would be amazing. And without further ado, I'm just gonna say toodles for now.